Whenever I do a video about an OLED monitor, some of you will be complaining about the matte screen, asking for a glossy surface. Now, your prayers have been answered because this is the world's first natively glossy WOLED gaming monitor from ASUS. The model number is XG27AQDMG. Now, the G at the end of the model number clearly represents the glossiness of the screen. And I'm personally a glossy fan because, it just imparts such depth and contrast to the image. And the good thing about the glossy coating on the ASUS Strix OLED XG27AQDMG is that it is a WOLED, which means that when it's hit by light, the surface won't turn gray like a QD OLED. It can still retain its ambient contrast and the richness of the blacks, even in the presence of ambient light, in such a dry environment at this Computex show floor. Some of you will be pointing out that another manufacturer, known as Dole, has a glossy OLED monitor on the market, but they are only attaching a Gorilla Glass at the front of a WOLED panel to achieve the glossiness, whereas ASUS has worked in partnership with LG Display to source this natively glossy WOLED panel directly from factory. And there is also an anti-VRR flicker technology, an ROG exclusive. Now, it will be present in the user menu, and there are several levels from which you can select. And currently it is grayed out at the moment because it is still in the demo mode for Computex. But how it works is that, depending on the level selected, it will actually shrink the VRR range. Let's say originally it is 40 to 240 Hz. It may shrink it to 180 Hz to 240 Hz. And by reducing the VRR range, it will reduce the propensity for the game to actually exhibit any VRR flicker, which may be music to the ears to some of you who have been complaining about VRR flicker, especially on OLED monitors, due to the true blacks they are capable of producing. I can't wait to actually test this feature when I get a review sample eventually. Now, the next thing you need to know is that it is a 27-inch monitor. The native panel resolution is 2560 x 1440. And this is using the MLA Plus technology from LG Display. And as a direct result, because of improved dispersion, the full screen brightness of this monitor can go up to 20% brighter than the previous PG27AQDM. And another thing I need to tell you about this monitor is its naming convention. You can see that it starts with XG rather than PG. This is the new Strix range, and the new Strix range will be more affordable. And this 27-inch glossy WOLED monitor will retail for only $699 US. And in Europe, the price is tentatively about 799 euros, which is amazingly affordable compared to most other OLED monitors, which has launched north of $1,000 US or 1,000 euros. And another thing I need to mention is that with the XG Strix line, you will have a smaller stand as well. Other key features of ASUS OLED monitors are present on board. There is ELMB or black frame insertion, and there is the ASUS OLED panel care, and there is the uniform brightness, which will cap the peak brightness at a certain level to reduce the ABL intruding into your productivity use. In terms of connectivity, it has two HDMI 2.0 ports, one DisplayPort 1.4, and even a tripod socket on top of the monitor. And as with most ASUS OLED monitor, there is a custom heatsink to dissipate heat, allowing for higher peak brightness and reducing the risk of image retention and permanent burn-in. Talking about burn-in, this ASUS XG27AQDMG is protected by a 3-year warranty that includes OLED burn-in. At the show, ASUS also demonstrated its AI assistant technology. The first component is AI Visual, where the monitor will automatically analyze the content on screen and switch to a picture preset that is most suitable for the game genre. For example, FPS, RPG, racing game, or scenery, or even office document for work and productivity reasons. The second component is the AI Shooter feature, where a crosshair will zoom in depending on what the AI engine has detected in terms terms of the content and magnify the enemies so that beginners can actually shoot and hit the target more easily. Now notice that obviously this is frowned upon in the competitive gaming community, and therefore there is a permanent practice mode label on the top right corner of the screen. But this is not going to burn in, don't worry, because the practice mode label is constantly shifting and it is of a fairly low transparency. But this mode is targeted towards beginners or maybe those who are just starting to pick up the game, to help them aim better, to help them achieve a higher kill-death ratio. And as I always believe, the prettiest picture is when your name is on the top of the leaderboard. And another AI component that ASUS has implemented on its OLED monitors is the AI crosshair technology. Now, they couldn't demonstrate this yet because this is a pre-production model. It is still in beta. But what this will do is to actually use AI to detect the scenery and the background and change the contrast and the colors of the crosshair so that it's easier to see for you to start aiming and start shooting at the enemy. Last but not least, there is an AI shadow boost function which, depending on the game, primarily FPS games in the dark, you can use the AI shadow boost function to brighten the near black gamma so they can see them and then obviously defeat them. And another key monitor ASUS wanted to showcase at this event is the PA27JCV with 5K resolution. This will have a native pixel resolution of 5120 x 2880. This will be using an IPS panel with a wider viewing angle, and key technologies on this monitor include factory calibration to a delta error of less than 2. It is Kalman verified, and it has a low glare anti-reflection technology called Lux Pixel. And importantly, there are also a couple of ambient sensors, and one of it is the ambient light sensor, which will change the brightness and the color temperature on screen depending on the detected ambient light. And another is the backlight sensor, which will achieve a consistent color temperature and consistent colors after only 5 minutes instead of the usual warm-up time of 30 minutes. And this is something that ASUS has built into the PA27JCV. Now, if you want to find out how the next-gen MLA OLED technology works to improve the brightness and also achieve some other improvements in terms of picture quality, please watch my explanation video by clicking here.